Hey folks, so in today's video we're going to look at some tricks you can do to stop your bar 10 from double feeding. It's a common issue out there and there's a lot of different tricks people are doing, so I thought I'd just do a summary of all those and what worked for me in the past. Now this is a stock bar 10 hop up, stock barrel, 610 barrel, everything stock here, right? Now this one here, as an example, some people will say this nub, you need to increase the size of this nub to fix any issues. Increasing that by putting some epoxy right here, or maybe putting some welding, some stuff on there to increase the size of that. I certainly have tried that. It never worked for me in the past. The other fix is inside of here is a little U-shaped, I'm gonna call it a clamp, which actually will grab the BB and it will set it up so when you pull your bolt in there, right, it pushes it into the chamber. Some people will say take that out completely, as that's the problem. I tried that, didn't work. The last one, the same thing with that U. And that U, if you can imagine, this is the U, is a little hole right in the middle of it. And that little hole is what actually holds the BB in place, right? It kind of gets stuck there, like a cradle. The other trick is to get a drill and increase the size of that hole. And then your cradle's larger and it should fit better. Again, I did not do that approach. I was a little weary. I would break that in half. But what did work for me for this stock one with a completely stock build is, no joke, I simply backed off the screws that were holding this in the outer barrel into the body. So remember now, when you're putting your body back together, there are two screws next to the mag catch, right? And they're Allen keys. All I did was I backed them off a little bit, and that's what solved my double feeding. Pretty simple trick. A couple guys were actually laughing at me because they were like, dude, your screws aren't super tight. I'm like, yeah, I know that. They're snug. There's a big difference, and it's totally working, solving my jamming problems. So I'm not going to screw with anything that works, right? I didn't lose the screws or anything like that. It was just more delicate, I guess. Too much pressure is what caused the problem. Now, the reason I'm bringing up this whole video is because I actually had the exact same problem with my Angel Custom hop up that I installed just last week with you guys that you saw. You can probably see some little dings and stuff because this has been double feeding, and I've never had a problem with one of these one pieces until now, right? I've used the black and the red version of this without any type of double feeding problems. So when it started happening with this build that I just did last week, I was perplexed. It was driving me insane. I could not figure it out. Well, I figured out what happened. So the double feeding happens, you know, you have a mag, it goes in just like this, right? You're used to that. That little click means that the mag release has been activated, that little push pin's been activated, BB's going in the chamber. And then what happens, the first BB will go into the chamber, hit these little nubs that keep it in place, but it bounces off of those and goes right next to the bucket. And the second BB moves up, goes in the place the first one should go, and then whenever you rack it, guess what? You just double fed. And because this is a super tight 6.1 with the bolt, it just would immediately jam doing that, and all the air pressure would get shot into this chamber. And what really perplexed me was inside of this, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but there's a little black O-ring, and that O-ring helps with the air pressure all inside of the chamber, but more importantly, it helps with the BB placement when you're racking it, right? It's a little bit more protection too for the bucking because it's right in front of the bucking. All that air pressure would shoot that O-ring out, and of course, I had to spend a little while trying to figure out where the heck it went back. Thank goodness I had another model that was having no problems. So I had to replace that, take it all out, and it was just double feeding jamming. This, I definitely didn't want to try any type of making this larger because, I mean, this one's larger than the stock one if you look at these side by side. So I don't think the problem is that nub, right? I knew it had something to do with the way I set this up. So I took it all apart. I probably put this thing apart so many times. That's why you see all these little chips and stuff. I was using some crazy tools. But I just couldn't get this thing to get it right. And I thought the problem had to do with these two screws. Remember, these two screws, if you can see down in here, those little white nubs in there, right? There's two little white nubs in there. I hope you can see that. Those two white nubs hold the BB in place like a clamp, right? BB comes in the chamber, and there's 2 white nubs keeping it in place. Well, my initial thoughts were I had to increase the amount of tension on these, right? I had to increase the amount of pressure keeping it in place. The problem was too much pressure would not allow the cylinder head to go in here. It would just make a wall, and I just couldn't figure it out. So eventually I just gave up on it for a whole day, went and slept on it, came back, and I said maybe the problem isn't not enough pressure. Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on it. So I actually backed these out as far as I could get them while I could still safely get it inside of the outer barrel, because if you loosen these up, these screws stick out, you can't get it in the outer barrel. Well, I backed them out just far enough so I can still get it in the outer barrel, put my mag in, put the body back together, and everything worked out fine. So if you're having a double feeding problem on this, the solution, guys, is to back these 2 screws out. It's putting too much pressure on the BB. It's making an obstacle course for the BB, and the BB is not sitting in there snug, because it's supposed to catch the BB like a net. And in this situation, it was not. So that's how you would fix double feeding on this one, guys. It's just use your error. We got to loosen these 2 screws up as much as we can. So anyway, those are a couple tricks for diagnosing double feeding with both an Angel Custom and, of course, the original stock. Hope it helps you guys out. If you have any other troubleshooting issues or anything, hit me up. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys, and as usual, I'll see you on the field.